All right. Well, folks, as you can see here, we're already a couple of minutes into this webinar already, and we want to get started because we got a lot of stuff to cover. Again, my name is Eric Auger. I'll be your co-host this afternoon with Patrick. I'm just going to take everybody through just a really very brief introduction here, and then we'll get right into the topic because, again, for some, this is their first time to ever be on one of our Wednesday webinars. And like I said, this is being the last one of the year. And we've got just all kinds of stuff that we want to share with you this afternoon. But the main thing is what drives this particular business? Well, what drives it is this platform called iClaim and EMRX, and that is powered by a company called NextGen Healthcare. And you can go Google NextGen Healthcare. You can go find them out there on the internet. They do not do billing, so don't worry about them competing with you about doing doctor billing or anything else. They strictly have a platform that they use and they resell out to other organizations like doctors. But for us, we've been a partner with them for quite some time. I bet you over 10, 12 years now. And what they do for us and what we do for them, we bring them new clients through our business owners like yourself, and then they support you. And a matter of fact, a lot of times will help you land that first doctor because they're going to be doing all the demonstrations for you to help you land that doctor. So they do more than just supply us just the software. They actually supply us a lot of support, and we're going to talk a little bit about that support here this afternoon. All right, so there are other services that go along with the iClaim and EMRX platform, and those services range everything from virtual care to choice pay, which is a way to help doctors collect their money without ever sending a patient to collections. There's a couple of programs, there's a couple of services there for medical coding. For some of you that are a little concerned about medical coding, do you need medical coding background? You do not. We have that supplied for you. And those that want to do a little bit of dental billing, we have a new organization that brought on just the last year or so called Dentamax, and they actually supply all the services needed for the software part of it to do dental billing. The founders of American Business Systems are the two handsome couple right there. You see Patrick and Linda Phillips. Linda was the one that kind of got everything kicked off. She was the one that was doing medical billing way over 28 years ago. ABS is the nation's largest network of independent medical billing companies in the United States, obviously, and growing every week. And looking forward as we are turning the clocks here in just another 3 to 4 days, ABS will be turning the clock on how long they've been in business, which obviously they've been in business for over 29 years, starting here very shortly. Now, their co-host that's going to be with us this afternoon is a writer. He's written several books, co-authored some of these books with from Dr. Vicki Rackner to a CPA, and then had a forward by Chad Helmstetler, and folks, Patrick's a great writer. He is also a contributor to an organization that is called the Billing and Coding Advantage magazine. Both he and Adam participate in writing an article. He is also one of the co-founders of an organization called MERMA, which is the Medical Revenue Management Association of America, and is this organization right here that will supply you with your certificate as a certified medical revenue manager once you complete our training. So, folks, without any further ado, I'm going to ask Patrick to join me. Patrick, it's good to see you this afternoon. And let me tell you, Happy New Year to you. Well, Patrick, you wanted to kind of end this year on this topic about recessions. I mean, I think even before we jumped on here just a while ago, you said, Eric, I think we talk about recessions every other year.
Yeah, it seems like they come up pretty often, although most of us think of the last big one as what, the 2008, 9, yep, somewhere in there. But you are hearing a lot about that. I am on news things and on the internet and Twitter and so forth. People are saying, "Oh, it looks like it's going to be a recession next year." And you know what? I think it's almost like it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, don't you? I mean, we talk about it and then it happens. But if everybody would just ignore it and go out and get jobs and spend money and buy things, I think it all will even out. But the great news is today, folks, that you're going to hear that it might be the best time to start a new business. You'll see.
You bet. Yeah. Again, folks, let me remind you that I appreciate everybody that piped in here on the question and answer panel. But remember, this is your webinar. I'm going to be monitoring the question box as Patrick and I kind of just chat through some of these slides here this afternoon. Matter of fact, these slides will be available in a PDF, so that if you want to ask the person that invited you here to the webinar, you say, hey, you might like to take a look at this a little bit later and kind of go through them yourself, you can certainly do that. And we are recording this. So if there's anybody here this afternoon that needs to step out a little bit earlier, know that this is being recorded, and we'll have this posted up on our YouTube channel. We're actually going to show you where that is here in just a moment. So, but feel free to ask your questions as we kind of go through here. Now, Patrick, this guy here, I think everybody kind of knows, Robert Kiyosaki. He is the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, author of many other types of books there. But, you know, his quote here is timeless. That's why I put this in here.
Yeah, I mean, the number one thing people can do to increase their wealth, he says, is to start a part-time business. Now, that's an interesting thing from a multimillionaire to hear that. But a lot of people, a lot of stories you'll hear are from people who had a full-time job and they decided they wanted to start their own business, so they started part-time. Now, folks, we have people that I've interviewed, many of our licensees are business owners. We call them licensees. They started part-time, and we can teach you how to do that. There are ways to, believe it or not, to build this business in your spare time. Mm-hmm. Now, that just means outside the regular business hours. For example, we have licensees who've met doctors, at their office on Saturday morning or for breakfast in the morning. There are networking groups that you can go to all over your city outside regular business hours. They have little mixers after hours. They have breakfasts before you even get started. There's all kinds of ways to get a business started. So if that's stuck in your head that, oh, I got a full-time job, I don't want to quit it, we don't encourage you to quit your job. Just let us teach you and hold your hand through building this one.
You bet. Absolutely. And, when we're talking about recessions, people always want really what's really going on here. And Patrick, I think you shared this diagram with me a few months back. And I thought this is something good just to kind of just chat through. And if you want to kind of take the circle here, it all begins with just what people might think about economy during a recession. Obviously, we all feel like we've got reduced incomes, but that's because it seems like the prices are going up.
Well, and in many cases, people have got reduced incomes. It's just amazing. There's no standard out there for any particular type of work that says, here, we've got to pay these people this amount of money. I mean, we've got a minimum wage, which is ridiculously low. But the point is that people sometimes lose their jobs, of course. Like it says right here, less jobs. I mean, there are people who are not working right now who probably could be working if they got a job that was something that, that they wanted to do. Sometimes there's just not a job out there people want to work at.
Absolutely. And folks, you can see down there at the very bottom of this little graph here, we kind of peeled this from an article called goodfirms.co, resources / how to start a business in a recession. So they've given us some good information that we're going to share with you here as we kind of go through these next couple of slides. But folks, during these recessions, American business systems have seemed to not only survive certain things, man, we obviously came out through COVID, but we've gone through inflations, we've gone through recessions, we've gone through the COVID virus, but ABS, Patrick, between your leadership and Adam's leadership and the rest of the crew here, we're still here. And it's amazingly that you're about to celebrate 29 years yourself.
I can't wait till we get to that 30th year. Wouldn't that be great?
I know it.
That's kind of a milestone. I remember when we started using that kind of logo there that you used at the beginning about how many years we've been in business. I remember using that. I think it was, 20, when we were at 20
yes.
years. And so, folks, the weird thing is that this particular business, doing medical billing for doctors, is just one of those things that it's just not going to go away as long as there's human beings who get sick and who go to the doctor. The doctor has to get paid by somebody, and somebody has to bill that entity, whether it's an insurance company or the government, to get the doctor paid. Well, you can be that person. Many of our licensees, again, start out part-time. They work out of their home. Eric, I talk to licensees all the time that have been in business with us for 8, 9, 10 years, and they still work out of their home. They've never had an office somewhere that they rent, because doctors don't want to come to your office. They expect you to come to them.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And if you don't have to have that expense, why do that? Now, there are some folks that have grown their business large enough to where they've got to have a place to put all of their people to work from. But then there's some people who have multiple employees too, and then they've got them and trust them to work remotely as well. So yeah, you can really pretty much do just about anything. But as Patrick said, whether it's during inflations or recessions or pandemics or anything like that, this next slide is still true, that 2 out of 3 doctors are just barely financially squeaking by.
We, as you know, Eric, we partner with Dr. Vicki Ragnar, who was a general surgeon for many, many years. And she says, Patrick, people, when they see a quote like that, they don't really realize what that means. But for a doctor, and 2 out of 3 in this case,
right,
to be just squeaking by, or actually in the red, that is, they're in debt financially. Right. That's hard for them to believe. But she said, Patrick, it happened to me. I actually had to borrow money and put it back into our practice, because at one time we were, hurting and didn't have the cash flow. Right. So it happens. The doctors struggle just like normal people.
Right. And for whatever reason that they have a loss of people at sea. I mean, it could be everything from, again, people may not feel like they can afford to go to the doctor. Maybe they feel like they've run out of insurance, or even with some doctors, they may have some issues personnel wise that has caused people not want to come back to their office. But doctors need to know this type of stuff, and being a revenue cycle manager, especially a certified medical revenue manager, you can talk to the doctor about those things. You're not just doing just billing, as you'll learn as we go through this presentation.
Yeah, this business is kind of surprising to a lot of people who do their due diligence. That is, if you engage with our business coaches here at ABS offices and start asking them questions and digging deeper, you're going to be even more and more surprised how this business is not just filling out a form and mailing it or sending it electronically. This is much bigger than that, because you become a medical revenue manager. That means you're managing the revenue cycle inside the doctor's office, which includes a dozen different things at least.
Yeah, exactly. And we're going to get to some of those parts there, but going back to this group called goodfirms.co, there again, how to start a business in a recession. They said it's good to start a business during a recession because of these 6 areas. Number one, there's cheaper resources.
Sure.
Patrick, I know we could go through these, each one of these, I'll just go through them pretty quickly, but, 2 is there are fewer competitors, because a lot of people are maybe scared about getting in. You may have some better credit options. That certainly is happening right now. For the easy to hire some qualified people, we're going to share with you that, some of the people that you could hire are other billers who might need to do some of your billing work for you. But even before that, maybe even getting the clients for yourself. We're going to show you how to utilize sales reps, again, to help you get those clients. 5, people are looking for new partnerships. So you may find somebody else to partnership within this business, which you can do that. And there's a lot of room for negotiation, especially working with doctors. Doctors are looking for new ways of doing that. So those are just some of the things that not just Patrick and I are saying. These are experts out there that talk about, can you and should you start a business during a recession?
Yeah, let me talk about number 5 just briefly. Sure. Because the fact that some people and we don't even mention this in most of our webinars, Eric, as you know, we don't do a lot of selling. We're
Right.
not trying to sell people today. Hey, you need to, get your paperwork and send it in today and send your money to us and so forth. That's because this is one of those major investments for most people to start a business. This is like a franchise. So we have a fee, franchise fee, just like all the others do. It's an upfront $28,000. That means that you need to have some cash on hand. Now, if you don't, you might think about number 5.
Yep.
Partnering with somebody who maybe has the cash. You become the working partner. You're going to do most of the leg work and the footwork. And then the other person is just the investor who makes some percentage of your profits. That might be something you think about if you don't have the cash available. So,
yep, you bet. Now, talking about different types of businesses, what could you do? Well, I mean, we already know that a home-based business is certainly a business that you can do. Obviously, that can be done in this business. Online businesses, server-based types businesses, which again, this is what this kind of is. So really, number 1, number 2, and number 3, and number, I don't know why that is number 2 there again. Number 4 and 4, the first top 4 are all part of what our business is. It's a home-based, it's an online business, it's a server-based business, and it's a low investment business. So, 4 out of the top 5 things. The other thing is recycling business. So
right.
Those are the things that people do, and kind of some businesses that occur that get started during recessions.
Yeah, and you know what? Doctors are the exact same. During a recession, they need to have enough cash flow to pay their bills, pay their people. And so people are looking to save money during a recession. Well, guess what? That's all you do.
Right.
Doctors is help them bring in more money and not waste money in their practice. So they have, again, bottom line, more in the bank at the end of the month.
Patrick, again, this is from this company called Good Firms. Got a lot of great information from them, but why don't you read this to everybody here and just kind of let's talk through this. This is from, Shane and Emery Murphy from Monster Money Clothing.
Monster Money Clothing, that's the name for a business, isn't it? Anyway, Here's what they say. Although there are risks with starting a business during a recession, we'll be the first to admit that, right?
Yep.
Risk every time you start a business. There's the possibility of being laid off or furloughed due to a recession when you work for a company. So folks, if you haven't seen or heard rumors yet in your company about, we might have to lay off people because of the recession, you should get something going. I encourage people always on the side, outside your regular business hours, you should start something so that you can lean back on that if they hand you the pink slip tomorrow.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they go on to say, however, when you work for yourself, job security is much more predictable. This is one of the many reasons why there is no time like the present to go into business for yourself. So talking about businesses that started during recessions or downturns, how about this company?
General Motors, who would have thought? Founded in 1908 during an economic recession. You can do the history and research on your own of this, folks, but we found these companies out there and we thought, wow, General Motors, look what they've turned into. And then there's HP, the computer company. They started during the recession of 1937.
In 38, yep.
And then here, during 57 to 58, the first Hyatt hotel opened. Can you imagine, Eric, what it costs to build and open a hotel? And they did that during a recession.
Yes, yeah. Well, here's another one that people will recognize.
Microsoft even started in 73 to 75. It seems like just yesterday to me. Of course, you and I were alive then, right? Weren't you alive?
We were. Yeah, we weren't just being born just yet, but
yeah, during the oil embargo recession, they called it. Yeah, and then there's Uber.
Yeah, Uber started during a recession.
Sure. And you know what, Eric? I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that people who start these businesses probably maybe they got laid off or furloughed.
That's
maybe
exactly
the reason
correct.
why they wanted to start a business, Or maybe they found out that, hey, things are real cheap right now. I can actually save money if I build a building or start up a website or whatever, because people are going to give us, special pricing.
Well, even Uber, I mean, Uber now, people in a downtime recession, they still know people need to go to the airport and get picked up and stuff like that. A lot of
Sure.
people look to them to go to work for them. And that's the way ABS is. I mean, you could start your own business, and that's what you've been able to do with so many people, is to use your business to help them start their own business. And that's what the beauty about ABS has been. Here's another one. Venmo is started in 2009, again during another recession.
Yeah, a big, huge. These are all huge companies, of course, but people don't realize how much they're worth now, even after a few years. And then, of course, there's Airbnb, which is one of those things that I think is an ingenious idea. But Eric, you've got a little email from the guy who started Airbnb. Look at this. Now, I'm going to have to enlarge it here where I can read it. Here's what he says. Now, look, you can see the date up there at the top, September 22nd, 2007. This is Joe. I forget his last name, but he's one of the guys that started Airbnb. He says, hey, I thought of a way to make a few bucks, turning our place, they were, both living in an apartment, into a designer's bed and breakfast, offering young designers who come into town for conventions and things, a place to crash during the 4-day event, complete with wireless internet, a small desk space, a sleeping mat, and breakfast each morning. Ha! That was just a kind of a joke idea that he came up with. That's how Airbnb started.
Yep, just something just very, very simple like that. Now, one other thing that we're going to talk about here before we kind of get into the meat and potatoes with American business systems is this article that did come out during a recession year, 2020, at the beginning of the outbreak of the pandemic. 10 reasons to start a business during a recession. Now, for time's sake, we didn't list all 10 of them, but we thought we'd give you at least the top 5. And the number one is because other people will not start a business.
Yeah, now think about that. This is a scary time for a lot of people, especially if they've been thinking about starting a business. So when a recession is coming, they just put that off. This is their excuse, Eric.
Yep.
At least as far as I'm concerned, this is their excuse basically for not going forward and starting a business. But there's that many less people that are out there starting businesses, and especially in this particular industry, because unless they know exactly what they're doing, this is not one you can just start on your own. I mean, Linda and I did, and I'm sure you could if you tried hard enough, but you'd spend a lot more money than $28,000 putting it all together like we have and making the connections with the various partnerships we have. So so they put them on hold. Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously, whenever you and Linda actually started doing medical billing, it certainly wasn't as complicated as it is today. But the software makes it less complicated, though, obviously. But there's great returns, folks. If you haven't seen any of our other webinars, as Patrick said, for the investment here at $28,990, you can typically make that money back within the first year just doing billing for one doctor. There's not many businesses out there where you only really need one client to get your return on investment.
Yeah, that's right. And there are lots and lots of people who try starting a medical billing business. But folks, you've got to know what you're doing. In fact, if you don't know what you're doing when it comes to finding a client, you can spend all the money you want to on logos and websites and software, but if you don't have a client, you don't have a business. That's what we specialize in and have for 28 years, helping people get their business up and running fast.
Absolutely. Number 2 is established businesses will be struggling, and we can tell you who those businesses are going to be struggling. It's the doctors themselves, and let me explain that to you. So many of you on the webinar today may think, well, what if the doctors are doing their own billing? That's where they're struggling. And you got to remember, inside of a doctor's business is another business. It's called medical billing. And a lot of times those types of businesses struggle because the doctors are trying to get their staff to do way too many things.
Yeah.
So whenever we say established businesses will be struggling, it's typically out of that doctor's office who do quote unquote their own billing.
Yeah, and some doctors choose to keep that in-house, of course. I think the statistic is still true, Eric, that we saw a year or two ago, that it's about half and half. 50%
Correct.
of doctors have already chosen to outsource their billing, but there's still a lot of them that have it still in-house. They just don't know why they shouldn't be doing that. They don't
Right.
know that they could be earning a lot more money if they turned it over to a professional like yourself, who has the right tools like we have, that can bring in more money each month, sometimes thousands of dollars a month more for that doctor than they're bringing in right now.
Patrick, someone's asking a question, and we'll pause here real quickly and ask this question. Can you give us more detail about your franchise, please? I wonder, maybe whoever the anonymous attendee is, if you could expound a little bit, maybe more on your question. Are you talking about the investment itself? Just help us out here. We'll see what we can do to help answer your question if you can expound it out just a little bit more. Until then, we're going to keep going on. People will be looking for cheaper alternatives, Patrick.
Yes, and the amazing thing is that doctors sometimes think they want a cheaper alternative to certain things in their office. They don't think about the fact that it's costing them probably twice, Eric, what they would pay one of our licensees. If they outsource their billing, they could probably cut their costs in half for what they're paying in-house. So if you want to lower costs, we've got a way to show them how to do that. And I know you're going to show the practice analysis and reports later, and we'll show you how you can show the doctor you are the person they're looking for.
You bet. And then the last thing that we're going to talk about in this part of it is being a new business will be less of an obstacle. And what that means here is basically what it says here. When you first set up a business, it can be a challenge to compete against more established competition. Customers usually reluctant to buy from a company without a track record, even if the prices and the terms are more favorable. With the economy in free fall, though, people will be saving money above most other considerations. So as long as your product stands up to the scrutiny, your lack of trading history will not be the barrier to new sales that will be expanding the economy. So just because you're a new business doesn't mean that people won't take a risk. Matter of fact, they're a little bit more open to the risk there than whenever you got some other established people already there, because they're looking to save money, and or as you'll see here, they actually need to gain more money as well.
Yes, and folks, the fact that you are a new business is kind of negated by the fact that you become a part of the nation's largest network of independent medical billing companies. As a part of the ABS Medical Revenue Management Association, you find that you have the credibility already established because we've been in business again for 28 years. So it's not just you. It's kind of like somebody opening up a State Farm insurance company,
Sure.
your office in your city. They may not have a lot of experience in insurance, but State Farm does. And so since they're a part of their network, they draw on that history and that proven business model.
Absolutely. Now, the person that was asking about could expand out a little bit more. What else besides the $28,000 franchise fee? What are we provided for the $28,990? Now we're going to answer that second question a little bit into the webinar here. We're going to show what you actually get. But Patrick, you want to expound a little bit? Do they need any more money than the $28,990 to get things started here?
You know what? If a person has a computer, it doesn't matter what kind of computer, by the way, because ours is cloud-based software, so it doesn't matter about storage or memory or anything like that. You can be using a Chromebook, I guess, as far as that goes. I mean, anything that's a computer. And as long as you have maybe the ability to, scan some documents in from time to time, a scanner is a good thing to have, and a phone. You can even set up a second number on your cell phone so that it rings to your phone as a business. And we'll show you how to do all that. That's part of our training, of course. Then you've got really just if you run out of some of the materials, we include over 2,000 marketing pieces in our package. And if you run out of those, of course, you'd have to reorder them, but we sell those at our price. In fact, we have a printer who just prints those and ships them directly to you. So we don't make money on those. That'd be the only other money that you need to spend. Now,
Sure.
you could spend money on a lot of things, a website, for example, but we include a website in
Right.
our package. You could include your own self-published book, but we include books that can have your name on the front cover. I mean, we can go on and on as to what you could spend money on, but believe me, we've got just about a business in a box.
Yeah, and he's already going into what you get for your investment here. Now, also remember that this is not a franchise, so you're not having to spend franchise fees. There's no royalty fees that go along with this. So that's a one-time investment. The only other thing that you're going to need to invest in is some time to get through your training and then do the marketing that you're going to need to get people to understand what you're doing here. All right, real quickly, Tony Robbins. Everybody again knows Tony Robbins. What businesses do well in a recession? I clipped out a little bit right here. His number 2 is healthcare. And when Patrick and I were kind of going through this, he says, Eric, what's number 1? I said, well, he says it right there. It's groceries.
Yeah, of course. Grocery stores. I mean, food. Yeah, obviously that's a big one to get started. But look at the second one, folks, is healthcare. Again, the population is aging.
Yes.
I know Eric is. I see that daily. And,
yes.
And so this is called a baby boomer people that he and I. And that means that basically you've chosen the exact right time in history because you've got so many people who are aging. And as the population ages, of course, people go to the doctor more. They have more things that go wrong with them. It's just the perfect business.
Yes, absolutely. So, don't take our word for it. These are people that are in the industry. They're telling you what you should be able to do. Should you start a business in a recession? The answer is obviously yes. Which business? You're going to have to make that decision yourself. We're obviously a little partial to healthcare because, again, like Patrick said, a lot of people are going to the doctor. People still get older. That population still churns that way if you think about it. So if you're always thinking about, are there going to be customers out there? Well, if there's customers for the doctors, which are equivalent to patients, people are going to see the doctors, then obviously someone's going to need to do the billing for those. And even with Forbes that said back in earlier this year, May 24th of 2022, small businesses boom post-pandemic and new ways of doing business. So, just basically right out of the gate here, talks about the GDP and the growth there, but even after the first year of the pandemic, there actually was a small business boom, according to a recent White House report. And that's what's important there. So folks, there's always a good time to start a business.
Yeah. And this one just happens to fit under the, inflationary, recessionary type economy because it's so helpful to the doctors for their cash flow.
Yeah, absolutely. So we halfway through the webinar here, we want to talk about why is a recession a good time to start a business, specifically in healthcare. And Patrick's already made mention of this already once before. And the number one reason is, and we've kind of stole this from Dr. Vicki Rackner, doctors are in pain. What does that mean, Patrick?
Yeah, it means they really are hurting because having gone through the COVID, many of them lost patients. Their cash flow slowed down. They had to lay some people off. And so it really hurt them financially. They want to stay in private practice, but many of them can't just because of the cash flow, the money situation. We can solve that for them. They are thrilled when they hear from Dr. Vicki, for example. She wrote a book here recently called The Myth of the Rich Doctor. It is a myth, Eric.
Yes.
Most doctors, they get into doctoring and medical field to get rich, and then they don't because she says physicians in private practice will all walk away from an average of 30% of their income when they don't follow up on rejected insurance claims.
Right.
I mean, there's lots of things that could go wrong when you're submitting a claim for a doctor, right? Insurance claims. And we show you, of course, how to bring that down from the 30% that you see there to as low as 2 to 5%. So again, we save them lots and lots of money. Some of those doctors never send those rejected claims back in with the corrections on them to get paid. And so we can put a lot of money back in their pocket.
And for those that are brand new, let me kind of step you through that. It's not just Dr. Rackner talking about these rejected claims or denied claims. The government talks about it too. And they put out there, and again, we put these, if you want to get a copy of these PDFs on each of these slides, we've got the footnote basically there for you to go check it out yourself. But the Government of Accountability Office basically states that between 6% and over 30%, there are claims that are what's called denied rates across the insurance that have occurred for several years. So this is something that is in of itself its own issue. This is where, when we say doctors are in pain, this is something that they've struggled with. And we also mentioned earlier that some doctors have had billers in-house and they've had it outsourced. And that's why we said, you go out to any doctor, a group of doctors, half of them may be doing billing in-house, the other half may be doing it outsourced. And it's because they kind of go back between each other. They kind of vacillate between, oh, do I bring my own biller in? If I have my own biller in, it's right underneath my nose. I can probably get a better handle on it, only to find out it costs them more. And the claims that are going out are not being followed up on properly. So again, you've got these big denial rates.
Well,
go ahead, Patrick.
The people that work for the doctor that are doing that billing in their office, they don't have any real incentive to make sure that those claims are clean and scrubbed before they're sent. That's why the denial rate's so high. And then when they come back, they don't have time to follow up and find out what's wrong and resubmit it. They'll usually just let that stack up somewhere, either in their computer or in a drawer somewhere if it's on paper, because they don't have any incentive. Now, our licensees, as you know, Eric, get a percentage of all the money that's collected. So if you bill for a doctor, let's say it's a claim of $100 and you're charging him 7%, you get $7 for that claim when it's paid. So you have an incentive to make sure they're paid.
And if you think about it, I know we're not going to talk about it today, but Patrick just said you can make anywhere from $6 to $7 per claim that you're filing. And in an hour's time, you can probably get through, a good 5, 6, 7 of those. And so if you think about that, you times that out times 6 or 7, you're making pretty good money per hour, when you're thinking about it. That's why we keep saying that with one doctor, you can get your return on investment. But back to the high rate of denied claims, not only does the government say something about it, there's an organization out there called the Healthcare Business Management Association. That's the HBMA. You can go take a look at them. They're a huge organization, but they themselves said it's not unusual to have a 35% or higher claim rejection rate, which requires extensive and expensive follow-up. Patrick, that's just what you were just talking about.
Yeah, and I mentioned the fact that we can get that down to 2 to 5%. Actually, Eric, our statistics right now in our system, since we know all of the claims that are going through for all of our licensees, is less than 2%.
Right.
So let's say it's 2%. Just think about this for a second. Going from 35% rejection down to 2% means there's money that the doctor is going to get paid on that he didn't expect to get paid on. Now, again, some of those claims are resubmitted by some doctors' offices, but a very small percentage of those are cleared as well. So again, how do we do that? Well, one of the things is we have a built-in clearinghouse. Our clearinghouse is built into our system. And in fact, our system was originally designed by 2 doctors 20 years ago who built it as a clearinghouse. So we've got that down. We know how to get the claims cleared.
Yeah, and it's all done within the same system as I'm showing here. So everything that Patrick just said is all built into the system, and that's what helps drive those denial rates below 2%. And then lastly, because we do everything internally, which includes the clearinghouse, we're also getting doctors paid much faster. We're talking 5, 7, 10 days at the most.
Yeah.
So typically, again, some could take up as large as 30 days and even as far as that as 90 days. But again, typically, what we're seeing is these doctors, the ones that our business owners are billing for, they've got greater money coming in because they're collecting 97 to 98% of their money, and they're getting it done quicker. So ask yourself, if you were a doctor sitting here today, thinking about going into next year, you know that you may be heading into a recession. 2022 may have been pretty bad. It could have been not as bad as it could be, but you're trying to figure out what you could do differently going into 2023. And if all they're hearing is, again, recession, they're thinking there's no way I'm going to make it through 2023. You can be the help there. And that's what going into number 2 here, you can be, the doctors need a remedy. So that's where we're going to be kind of taking you on this track right now. So we've already shared with you about the pain, the issues that the doctors are going through. How can you become the remedy? Well, first of all, Patrick, it starts with a practice analysis. You want to walk us through what a practice analysis is all about?
Yeah, I learned real early when I was out marketing for my wife and I's company. This was back in the early 90s. I found out real fast that doctors don't want to be sold. They do not like salespeople. So I go in as a consultant and tell them that I will do a free, no obligation practice analysis on their practice. We will find out where the leaks are in your cash flow. And we've come up with, I think our picture here shows 3 pages, but I think that's expanded. And Eric, these are documents that people can change and add to, and
sure,
way they want to. So you can take out whatever questions you don't like. But folks, we came up with the questions that you need to ask to really help that doctor see where the leaks are in their cash flow. And once you've got that that information from the office manager or the doctor, you go back to your office and prepare, with our help, of course, a special report. We have a spreadsheet. You fill in the blanks from the answers you get from that, and it looks like this. As you can see, it's called a practice revenue report. Now, we're going to zoom in on the bottom part of it there just so you can see that the doctor in this case could increase their revenue per year by $122,000. Yeah. Now, that's nothing to sneeze at, Eric. If I saw this doctor, I'd go, well, even if you just made up all these numbers, which you didn't, you got them from my office manager, but even if they were just somehow inflated, I'd take even half of that. Wouldn't you? 60,000 a year, that's 5,000 a month.
Well, and that's what it is, folks. If y'all can see that, and I'll see if I can get my pen here out and see if I can do this properly. Hopefully this will get it. You can see here, this is what the doctors were making after we did the practice analysis. In a projected world, if we were able to stay within that 2% rejected rate, which we know that we can be there, even after taking out all the cost, there's still another $10,200 extra, which this is where these numbers are coming from, which again, that's $122,000 more a year. That's this plus that 17.
That's right.
So folks, that's what you got to understand here, is that it's this in and of itself will sell the doctor, your business, and we're going to help you with that. We're going to train you. So people are asking, how long does it take to get your first client? Well, as soon as you can get in front of a doctor, which we're going to show you how to do, about just to even do a practice analysis, it really all begins with sitting down with that doctor and kind of going through with that doctor, as you can see here, just a step-by-step process. We've already got it all built in there for you to make sure that there's nothing that's left out. So all of your training is going to support you of when to do it, how to do it, where to do it, what doctors to target. We're going to coach you right through every step of the way. That's the beauty about American business systems.
Yeah. Hey, Eric, I was looking back at the questions there. There's another one there from Anonymous, but I wanted to address briefly, his previous question was, what else do I get for that licensing fee of $28,990? Well, we have a report that we're going to tell you about here at the end of the webinar, that if you get this report from your ABS rep, you'll find out it's a 65-page report that has all that you get for that license fee. So if you haven't got that, we'll show you how to get it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then someone's Zoom user is asking, what is the average work hour per client? I kind of shared that with you earlier. It's about an hour, hour and a half per day. So you can see that you can be making anywhere from $60 to $80 an hour doing that. And then if you had a couple of doctors that you were doing that for, it'd probably take you 3 to 4 hours to do that kind of work for you. We've got that broken down in a previous webinar that Patrick and I have done in the past. And he also says, so just to make sure that I understand this correctly, is that our potential business is paid per claims filed. Yes, you're going to get paid on what you help the doctor collect. That's the percentage. So all of your money is driven from how much you're helping that doctor collect. That's correct.
Right. And Anonymous, you've got another question here. We really can't cover everything in this question, but he's asking about walking us through some of the processes that we'll actually be doing. You mentioned resubmitting the rejected claims. Well, that's all done, of course, in the software. So there's no paper, or you're not mailing something in or anything like that. But there are some other administrative things that you'll be doing as well. So in addition to the hour and a half you might do the claims, there might be a few other things that you're having to do as well, of course, during the day. And if you're wondering how you get your second, third client, it's real simple. Most of the time, if you do a good job for your first client, you'll be getting referrals from that doctor. We'll show you how to get referrals from that first doctor to your second and third. Many, many licensees that I've interviewed over the years, you'll find out there on our YouTube channel, have said the very thing. We never did anything, but you told us what to do, Pat, to get the first one. And then all the others came from that.
You bet. All right, so we got that one answered. Zoom user said, "Hey, thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it. Yeah, you're very welcome." And then Jared is asking, "Do I have to pay the license fee to see a demo of the cloud-based system?" Well, you lead in right into my next slide here, Jared. I appreciate that. It's kind of like you know what's about to come up.
Yeah.
You can actually see a live demonstration of the software before you purchase. Just get back with the person that invited you to the webinar today, and they will be happy to set that up. Plus, also for what the reason this slide is here, if y'all remember earlier, I told you that our technology partner will actually do the demonstrations for you for your doctors. So what better thing could you have than the experts who actually run the software actually do the demonstrations for you for your doctors? That is a winning combination, and that's how we help you get your first clients. Patrick, we only have a few minutes left. I'm going to keep going on here. Number 3.
Right.
Go ahead.
Whatever you need to. Okay. Number 3. Yep.
Yep. You will be the remedy. You can be the remedy for these doctors during this recession. And again, Patrick, you've already shared this, but everything that anybody's going to need, and this kind of goes along with one of the questions, what do I get whenever I join American Business Systems? You're getting everything that we're showing you right here.
Yes. And you know what? The great thing is that it's all programmed by and run and operated by NextGen, which is behind the scenes. It's all the same programmers that work on all of this, folks. We haven't plugged in different software from different companies to let you do all this. All that you see there, including the electronic medical records that you're seeing pictured here, our patient portal, all of it is included in that license fee. There's no extra fees that you pay ABS. This is a hard one to get across to people because a lot of franchises will charge a lot of extra fees after you become a franchisor, but you don't have to worry about that with us, folks. We have one fee, it's a lifetime fee, and it covers everything, period.
Absolutely. And Patrick, this is the book that you were talking about here, is the New Thriving Medical Practice, and that's part of their marketing to help help get that first client. I mean, everybody's wanting to know, Patrick, how do I get that first client? Well, what you need, everybody listen up, kind of listen in, you need credibility.
Right.
Well, how else can you build credibility if you've never been in this business before? Well, you partner with American Business Systems. You also partner with Dr. Vicki Ratner, who wrote this book. And then you are also on the front cover of the book as the person who wrote the foreword to the book. That automatically gives you 100% automatic credibility, folks. This is important for you to understand. That's what you're looking for, and that's what part of what you're getting for the fee of getting in here is because you need that credibility. And that's what you're getting, plus the certification. So if you can see here, you truly become the solution, because again, with the book's help, with ABS's help, with NextGen's help, we can show the doctor that we can get their claims under 2%, get them paid within 7 days. And then finally, the fourth reason is that ABS is here to support you. So Patrick, again, as we kind of start wrapping up here, let's talk about Myrma here real quickly and the certification that they get.
Yeah, this organization, by the way, is the one that developed our training. We have 10 modules, training modules that are each about 90 minutes apiece. So you can complete them all within 2 or 3 weeks if you want to, the most. And then at the end of that, Myrma issues you this certificate that makes you a certified medical revenue manager.
Yes. Yep, and here's the certification right there. Matter of fact, about the book, and again, I don't know the person's name here, Zoom user said, that's actually brilliant about the credibility thing. So I appreciate someone recognizing that. I think that part of brilliancy kind of came from the guy that's drinking some Perrier over there. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, actually, Dr. Vicki Ratner came up with the idea. So why don't we put out a book? You and I write a book and let your people put their name on the front cover. I said, well, why would their name be there? She said, well, we'll write a foreword that's just very generic, and they can put their name and contact information at the end. So in the book, you actually have a place to put your company name, email address, website, phone number, all that contact will be right in the book. And of course, if you want to write a foreword, we'll let you do that with some guidance. But otherwise, you can just use the one we have. It's pretty standard. Yeah.
Now, folks, it looks like we're going to go over just a little bit, so y'all hang over with us. Obviously, it's our last webinar of the year. We're trying to cram in as much as we can, so we may go past a little bit past the top of the hour. I'm sure everybody's going to hang there. Plus, people have asked, what do you get? You're going to get all support you're going to need. It's live support. It's a web-based system support, the ABS LSS. You're going to get all the training done for you through here. Again, you're going to have all the support mechanisms that you're going to need. And then lastly, Patrick, people want to know, gosh, how can I make sure that this is really the right business for me? Why don't you share what you give everybody, every business owner that ever comes into American Business Systems? You give them 100% money back guarantee. How does that work?
Well, this is in writing in our agreement, and it just basically says this, that if you sign up with us, you pay the fee, you go through the training, you have to go through our training. If at any point in the first 30 days, and I told you could go through the training in 2 weeks if you wanted to, right? So you can get through the training and have access to all of our materials, all of our proprietary information. And at the end of 30 days, for any reason you don't like this business or think it's right for you, you simply ask for your money back. Now, that has happened about a handful of times in the last 28 years. So there are reasons why people decide that they don't want to be in the business. I'm just telling you the facts. It's less than 0.5 of 1%. But the point is, we would give you your money back, except the fact that most people will stay because they see that it's worth way more than what they paid us. But that's in the agreement. Yeah.
So again, hopefully you can answer your question. Should I start a new business during a recession? And hopefully you found out the answer is not just maybe, but really yes. Yeah, you can actually start a business during a recession. We're here to support you. Now's a great time to get started in a business. Let me tell you some of the next steps that I think you should be taking. Number one, take down this phone number. Yes, were you going to say something?
I'm sorry, I'm jumping in here because I failed to tell you, I do have a call here in 2 minutes that I need to get off and get ready for. So I'm going to let you wrap it up here. Thanks for putting this together, Eric.
You
Great
bet.
information. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Patrick. It's good seeing you. All right. So some of the next steps that you want to do is obviously take down the phone number, 866-565-8413. Give us a call here. One of the things that Patrick mentioned earlier is the research guide. There's lots of things there on that research guide, much more than what we were able to go over this afternoon on a webinar that takes us about an hour to get through. So you want to get that. You're seeing it right here. It's about 60 plus pages. It's going to give you a lot more information. But folks, again, not only do you get that, there's much more information on some of our YouTube channel that Patrick and I have done over the last 15 years. There's tons. We have not missed a Wednesday webinar in the 15 years I've been. So this is packed full of information. You can go back and see where Patrick and I had more hair and darker hair. If you want to go see that there too, but we're kind of archived through there, so we will continue to keep living through all that with being on the YouTube channel here. So go check all that out. It's youtube.com/ABS. You'll see all different types of different types of topics there. Now, this is an important part. Everybody hang in there. I know some people are having to drop off, and I understand that, but get the ABS licensee reference list. These are people who have actually sat where you are, sat through a webinar, and have just gone through everything going through right now. Questions, give them a call, talk with them about this business. They'll help you. And as earlier, someone asked, can I see a live demo? Absolutely. We want you to see a live demo. We want you to kind of get in here, kick the tires, jump in the driver's seat, and feel like you're actually driving the system yourself. And you'll see why doctors are changing. A lot of people ask, well, why would a doctor ever change their billing system? Believe me, they will, because they see that there's a bigger difference there, especially when we can talk with them about having their own clearinghouse. That makes a big difference, and the doctors understand that. And remember, and NextGen is the ones that are actually helping you do the demo, because again, they eventually want that doctor as a client through you. So obviously, that's what they're here to help you and get that billing client. And then lastly, second to last, get the purchase agreement. It's about, I think Adam told me now, it's up to 5 pages long, not much more than what's written there, but it's certainly a lot shorter than franchise agreements out there. So take a look at that on the first page. So someone's asking, so is the money back guarantee start before or after the training? It's actually in writing. It's after the training. So you will be able to go through the entire training, through all the exercises. And it's a live one-on-one, just like what we're doing right now. You're going to have an instructor that's going to tell you and teach you exactly what you need to do every step of the way. Even after that training, within that 30 days, if you still feel like this is not the business for you, you can certainly ask for your money back. So that's something that you need to really pay attention to. And then lastly, once you know that you're ready to get started, just go ahead and get your funding in. Let's get your training going. Obviously, we can't get your training in this year because we have 2 days left, folks. I mean, it's amazing. Well, 2 days of a working week. We actually have 1, 2, 3 days left of this year. Sunday will be the 1st. And so, but shortly after that, folks, we can get your training started the first part of next year, which is just next week. So we will be happy to help you get that training all lined up for you, get your schedule all up, ready to go. So if you'll follow these next steps here, and I'll put this back up here for those that are still on. But lastly, let me share with you, you get to help me celebrate a milestone, because truly, folks, ABS, by next week, will have celebrated 29 years in business. They are starting their 30th year. So if you can imagine, really, we're in that part of it where it truly is a big moment here. And we will have, at the end of this next year, have completed 30 years. So folks, if you're looking for a business that you want to be a part of that has some longevity to it, why not join us here at American Business Systems? We'd love to have you be part of the ABS family and the ABS team. So I'm going to put this back up here. Give us a call, 866-565-8413, or email us at info@absystems. Athens says, thanks, Eric. I appreciate your time. I appreciate everybody kind of hanging in here towards the last. Let me see if I've missed any questions here. Athens, you asked a question. How many doctors/accounts can an individual manage before needing to hire employees? Probably depending upon the load. And when I mean the load, how many patients a doctor actually sees. Typically, I think you can handle about 4, maybe 5 doctors before you have to hire anybody. Keep it that way. But really, even at 4, maybe 5 doctors, you're well within a 6-figure income. You're probably, your income estimations, projected estimations, 160, 170,000 with about 4 doctors there. So just kind of know that. So you might want to table it back a little bit, especially if you want to just kind of keep it to yourself, not have employees. You see where I'm going. Some people really want to grow this business where they've got 5, 6, 7, 8 employees. It's just really up to individually. If you like 2, remember, one doctor can produce an annual income anywhere from $50,000 to maybe $65,000 a year. So with a couple of doctors, still you're going to be within that 6-figure income. That's kind of like the magic threshold everybody kind of looks at. Can I make $100,000 at this business? Yes, and you can even do it with about 2 doctors, no more than 3. You'll clearly be there. There was a question here: what are the financing options to be able to pay the fee? We don't have any financing, but get back with the person that invited you here. They can show you how to use different financing resources. So get back with them. They'll kind of help you out with that. Anonymous says, is the book of business you build sellable? Yes, absolutely. Remember, this is a service type business. So yes, if you grow this business and you want to end up getting out of the business a little bit later on, we've had a lot of people get out of the business just because they've made all the money that they want to do and they want to go do something differently. We've had people sell off some of their accounts, and you're looking at one. I actually had some accounts that I've done this with and sold off those accounts. So yes, you can do this many times over as long as you want to be able to do that. And then Athens says, thanks for answering that. Yep, you're welcome. So folks, I think I got all the questions answered for everybody. Again, this is my turn to just say thank you from American Business Systems to you. A lot of you I've seen you over the last couple of months. Some of you brand new. And I look forward to keep being here for you to help you, kind of coach you along the way if this is really something that you want to do.